This is Radon St Nazaire on the Tour Less channel. We are on video number 4, turns 5 and 6. Doubt we get number 7 in, but you never know your luck. At the moment, the Brits are on 22 victory points out of the 70 they're trying to get to. We haven't accounted for the 12 for the boat ramming the lock gates here, or the torpedo delayed action that's hit these gates here. That's all done at the end of the game. But the Brits have done pretty well so far. They've blown up a couple of targets here. There's guys who are on target here to put their charges down, and here. They've taken out the power station. That's quite important. So we're not going to be bringing you very much of the harbour defence phase, nor the British covering fire, or the dockside defence phase. Reason being, with the power station taken out, these harbour lights have all been knocked out, and they can't get a chance to roll for repairs until 2 turns later on. So the chances of the Germans doing much damage to this British fleet is quite limited. They'll be moving out at quite a quick and easy rate. These guys will get into the open sea. We'll be bringing the open sea roll to see how that one works. That's quite simple. And I have had to move one of these boats backwards by 1 space. Even though I spent some time correctly counting out Ryder, picking up these guys here who come off the Campbelltown, I moved them 1 space too many, so I moved them back again. That's no problem. That's all sorted out. And the Brits themselves, well, they're covering fire return back toward any of these targets here. Yes, we wouldn't mind taking out one of these guns here, and are going to try and roll for it, but they're on +3 on their flotilla gun display, so the chance of them hitting anything is quite limited. So next time I speak to you properly, I think will be when we get an open sea roll, and then we start doing all these commando movements, still coming forward, resolving their attacks and defences versus all these Germans everywhere, and their demolition jobs. So I'll speak to you in a second. Before we get going, may I mention that I make these videos in aid of a charity called Cure Parkinson's. You can guess what they're trying to do. There's a link to them below this video and one in the About section on the channel page. If you happen to have a spare dollar, euro, yen, yak, or a motor launch you could send to them, I'm sure that they'd appreciate it. Let's start throwing some dice around. Okay, so that was me getting it wrong partly. The open sea doesn't happen until the boats have been in there for 1 turn. They have to spend a turn in there and then roll for it. They've only just moved into it, so we do that open sea roll later on. We have managed to get 4 boats into the approach, so they'll be going into their next turn as those move out, provided their dice rolls with the open sea encounters allows them to it. I did make one mistake. This guy here, this turn away marker, was left over from previous turn. That shouldn't be on there. He does have 2 movement factors. He can go 1, 2 and join the guys here on the exit of the game. The only other things to mention is during the harbour defence, was a complete failure, failing on its first roll, as was the British returning fire. They rolled a 12 when they're trying to roll less than a 7. Not very clever. And on the dockside defence, they actually scored 3 hits. 2 of them were on Wallace. First of all, putting him in evade. Second time, putting him on fire. So he's in deep doo-doo there. And this boat's got a turn away marker on there. We're hoping that these are going to come back and pick these guys up later on. But we do have Boyd back here. He's come through from C to zone B, but he's only got a speed of 1. We'll see how fast he can make it. I don't fancy bringing one of these guys back out from the approach, but we'll see what happens. With no rolls to do on the open sea encounter table, the first thing we have to do now is the German activation. It is a double die roll. It is only a 4. Again, that's not very good. It's a -1 because we're on turn number 5. Go down to a 3. 3 means we draw 3 units from the cup on our activation table. And these are Devil 2 guys this time round. So I'll put the 3 out at random. I'll stick them in a random line. And then we roll to see where they get placed. The first one, we go into zone 655, which is one of these outside zones, 655. So he doesn't come in until we get a great roll for their movement. The second one will go into 161. That's going to be somewhere quite awkward. 161. up here. Again, it's going to be quite close to, oh, it's a level 6 guy as well, to where some of these Brits are going to try and exit the board from. And the third guy will go into 214. 214, here's 214, it's on one of these boats, it's the front boat. That's not too terrible for the Brits, we don't think, but he's a level 4 guy. So he could pose problems for this guy if he's going to try and escape via this direction. We'll have to think about that a little bit in a second. So let me think about the commando movement and get back to you in a wee while. Okay, after spending some time umming and ahhing like an ummy-ahry thingy-wums, we finally come up with a plan, and it's a good plan, he says, hopefully. We were thinking about perhaps bringing one of these boats back out of the approach zone into the avant-port, obviously on the next naval movement turn, and picking these guys up here, because they're doing a good job, but we're here to smash the Germans, so smash the Germans we're going to do. All my white sticks of white stickiness are telling you that these guys here, who are on target, will still try to lay their explosives. We've got Bradley here will get through to 331 and lay his charge this time. Maybe set them off if we're lucky. But the other guys here, we've got, I think it's Wharton. Is it Wharton or Wilson? And we've got Moss here. And we've got one of the commando units from down here, Newman. Are all going to try and come up and around, bypass the guys who are laying their charges, and get into this U-boat pen area. Now, it's a long way around to get to it, but should they get up to there, and it does, I think it spawns Germans when you get adjacent to that, at least there's some kind of cover, some sort of protection, and more importantly, 5, 10, 13 victory points that the Brits could grab. So getting up there and having protection is a double-edged sword there. We're going to try to do that. Down here in the southern side of the docks, southern on my board, it's probably actually eastern in real terms. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be using Chant here. Chant's going to move in with Smalley and offer him some sort of protection with this gun trying to attack Smalley when Smalley's trying to lay his charges here, and eventually try to get themselves out of this way. We'll see whether they make it or not. We're going to be using the 2 commander units here to move into the northern side, or the northern side of this bridge, versus these 2 Germans. Well, you know, it went badly last time, but that's what we're going to be doing, trying to hold on to sort of shut the door in these 2 guys' faces. And Pennington is trying to get himself up to 261. It's a long way to go yet, but we do now have Purdon, who's successfully made his demolition job, so he can go up there and add some protection to the whole unit up there. That is what we're going to be doing with the Brits. I've preset the move down. It's going to happen no matter what happens, but we have to roll the German activation to see how many moves that they would get. We already know where they are on the board, and their activation number will be a 6. Sorry, will be a 3, which means anybody less than a 3 won't be moving. Guys who are a 3 strength unit will move 1 space, 4 strength will move 2 spaces, and 5 and 6 strength units, which is these guys, can move 3 spaces, which means they will probably be moving into the Brits up here and having a hand-on-hand action. That could be a little bit nasty, but I'll see all the Germans and all the British movements will all be done before we start rolling any combat in a couple of minutes' time. Okay, so the British and German land movements have been done. Yes, I know we don't necessarily roll that dice for this movement speed or movement factors until after the Brits have done, but you know, I'm playing both sides optimally and just bringing the dice rolls in a convenient fashion. It didn't affect my choices. These guys here have got themselves as far as this crossing point. They can't get any further. They've run out of movement factors. We've got guys on target now waiting to go through, and this one fella here, young Moss, has got himself as far forward as anybody else close to this gun. I suspect next time, don't tell the Germans this, he might move himself in there, pop a grenade up onto that gun, so to clear the pressure from this way, and that will cause some adjacency with guys spawning up here from what I remember. Down here, Chant moves into here with Smalley. These guys here are waiting to do their bits of bashing. We've got 2 guys here, can face 2 guys here. I think it's Roderick and Byrne, and Roderick is the weaker guy of the two, and this guy here couldn't make it forward and have enough factors to move into the same space, and the one German's moved down in opposition to Purdon and Pennington, and it doesn't matter which one he tries to attack, they're both of equal strength, if you like, but one of the guys got this as his primary target, so it's going to be a direct to decide which one he's going to attack first, as far as I remember. So, no combat up here. There's nothing that can happen. This gun can only do its long-range shots on the long-range turn, on the Germans' turn later on, into yellow areas. Nobody's in yellow. The green areas don't have a gun there to hit them. So this area we can ignore for the moment, and we can back down to here, same as last turn, to see what damage we can do and how bad it's going to be. So let's start off with this one here. Young Roy, who's been struggling. I think he's down to 2 strength now, versus a German who is a 4 strength. Let's get that one rolled up. The first thing we have to do is to roll the dice to see whether he hits. Let me turn my paper over to the right side. 1 second. Got pieces of paper all over the place. So, young Roy is a commando, and he's in the same area. And he will get a -2 on his dice, but he is only a 2 strength unit now. Yeah, he's a 2 strength unit now. So he's rolled a 5, goes down to a 3, which means he is going to miss. Eek! Poor old Roy. He's doing a sterling job there, but, well, probably not good enough. Let's use Chant. Do we use Chant to have an adjacent shot against that German guy there? I think I'd rather do what I thought about doing in the first place than having Chant attack these guns here. Chant is a strength 6 unit. He's not in the same area, and he's not a commando unit, so he's going to get a natural die roll. He's got to roll below his number of 6 to score a hit. Well, of course he does that. That's not a problem at all. But the gun is a 4 strength gun. If we can now roll a 4 or higher, we destroy that gun and give Smalley a much better time of it. We've rolled a 5. Nice! So, because we've hit this gun here above its number, that means that gun, I believe, is destroyed. Let me just double check all that and come back to you with this attack. Yep, okay, double check that. That all seems to work out nice, even though I didn't quite get the right +1 factor on the demo unit firing. It still worked out correctly, and it's an out of action marker goes onto that gun, not a destroyed marker. Let me fiddle around and put that one on there. So well done, Chunt. You've done a great job there in protecting Smalley, who can now peacefully lay his charges on here. Unless that German decides to shoot this way, which he's not going to do. Let's get this battle done up here. We have this German unit, which is a 5 strength unit. He was the one that got injured last time and barely winged, versus Roderick, who's down at a strength of 4. Roderick is going to fire first at a 4. He is a commando assault unit, and we're in the same area, so he's going to get a -2 bonus on his dice. Good chance of him doing some damage here, unless he rolls a 6. Which means he does score a hit. He's still at 4. I was looking at Roy for a second there and thinking disappointing thoughts. But he's at a 4. He's rolled a 6. It's fire is an assault unit, and he's in the same area. So 6 goes down to 5, goes down to a 4. That, I think, scores a hit. What damage will he do to that German unit? If it's a 5, he'd be well happy. If it's a 4, he's happy enough, I suppose. So this one here will get reduced down from a 5 in our remnants bin, knocking guys flying as we go, to a 1. And then, next door to him, I'm buying time here by the way, is Byrne. Is it Byrne? It's in the shadow there. It is Byrne. He is a regular strong unit. No damage to him. He's a 6 unit, so he can roll his dice at 6 or less. He scores a 3. It's -1, -2, blah, blah, blah. Easy hit. No problem at all with that. He's going to roll his damage dice. He scored 5 damage on this guy. So both of those guys have been reduced down to strength 1 units. Nice. Did me fumbling? Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. And straighten these guys up in a second or two. The third attack that would take place will be these two guys both having a shot into here. They're not going to be laying charges this turn, so they might as well both have a go, provided both of them provided both of them are necessary to do that job. And Purdon and Pennington. Pennington's a 6 strength unit and Purdon is a 6 strength unit. Let's start off with Purdon for want of any good reason. He will roll a 3. So it's a 3. He's not a commander unit or an assault unit. He's not in the same area. The German is in a circle, not in a hex. Yep, that's fine. He's not under a searchlight. It's a +1 because it's a commando demo unit doing its job. So his 3 goes up to a 4. He's a strength 6. He scored a hit. The damage he does on that German is a 6. Knockout. Nice one. So this guy is kaput. Let me tidy everything up and get back to you in 1 wee second. Okay, so we are on to the German combat phase now. There are no long-range shots being done by the Brits. No long-range shots going to be done by the Germans either. So it's just a stand-up, knock-down battle between Germans and Brits. This guy here doesn't have adjacent to this guy. There's a couple of boats in the way, and there are double lines between the boats. I think it's a little bit unfair, but that is where the leopard crumbles. Let's get on with the battles. We've got this 4-strength German unit versus the 2-strength Roy. He's stood up valiantly so far. Can he stand up one more time? We'll roll the German dice first. He's rolled a 5. He doesn't get a -1 for assault unit, but he's in the same area. 5 goes down to a 4. Searchlight beams, blah, 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 blah. So that 5 turns into a 4. It's a 4-strength unit. German guy has scored a hit on Roy. Can Roy survive this attack? Good luck, Roy. Oh, no, he doesn't. It was close. It tried to stay there, but nope. Roy, I'm afraid, is no longer. We take him off and we salute him. It does, for a moment, put these guys in a slightly more perilous position because there's a double line movement out to here, and he does want to stay here and set his charges up. So, this could be more problems for Smalley and Chant that are here. We now have the battles back here. Both these Germans have been reduced down to 1 strength units. I believe, on the German doctrine, they are both going to try to fire at the stronger unit, which I think is Byrne, which is on this side. He's a 6 strength unit, so they're both going to try and roll their rolls at 1 with a -1 dice roll modifier. So if they score a 2, they score a hit. So the first guy misses, and the second guy misses as well, with the same dice roll. That was me just repeating the film clip there, wasn't it? So nothing else will happen now from the Germans, and we can get on with the demolition phase next. Let's start off with, and why not indeed, start off with Smalley down here. He's been here trying to lay his charges. Let me flip my sheet over to the other side. And Smalley will try to prepare his charges with a dice roll. We're going to roll these dice. He rolls a 5. Possibly not the best of numbers, but we're going to find out. Smalley is a 2 strength unit. He doesn't get the +2 for entering this turn, didn't fire, wasn't fired upon, and it's not his primary target. So once again, Smalley has failed to lay his charges. That's really annoying. Okay, moving on from there. We have Woodcock here. He's going to try and lay his charges on this turn. He's going to roll a 6. What's happened to my dice rolling? Woodcock is a 6 strength unit. That's not too bad. I think last time he had some hits upon him or shots upon him, so that's what caused the problem. But he didn't get a +2 because it didn't enter this turn. He wasn't fired upon and didn't fire, and it's not his primary target. So that 6 actually is successful in laying his charges. Where's my box of bits gone? It's over there, right over there. So he has laid his charges on here, despite the fact that it was a terrible dice roll. Let's get some better dice rolls up here, shall we? We've got young Walton up here, who's on his primary target. He rolls a 1. That is definitely going to roll his charges or lay his charges without even me running through that sequence of numbers. So Walton has laid his charges. Next door to him is Bradley, who's only just got there. He could do with this a dice roll of about a 1 as well, we think. It's a 6. There's no way in the world I think that's going to be a successful roll, because he has just entered this turn, so it's a +2 and a -1 for it being his primary target. So that 6 is going to be a failure. So we will be able to use actually this counter here to tell us he's been here for 1 turn next turn. We have Swain trying to lay his charges. That was a brilliant shot, that one. It's a 4. I believe that's going to be enough for Swain. Swain is a 6 strength unit. It's didn't enter this turn, and it's his primary target. So that is going to be another target, another charges placed correctly this turn round. So I don't think there's anybody else with charges trying to be successfully laid. So let's go back in reverse order. Why not indeed? We're going to try and set these charges off from Swain first. He's rolled a 3. Target was not previously damaged. It's not one of the casings. It's not at risk. It is an assault. It's a demo unit trying to set those ones off. So 3 is target destroyed. Nice. Let's move on to Walton with his prepared charges. He scored a 3. It's going to be those same numbers. We've got 2 targets destroyed. The last guy is Woodcock. Can we get a hat trick this time round? We do. We have 3 out of 3 destroyed places. Nice. Let me tidy all that back up and get back to you in a wee while. Okay, so that's the board all nicely tidied up now after all that action. We've got some damage markers under here and one under there, giving us 12 victory points, which puts the British total up to 34, almost halfway through to the 70 points. Consolidation happened for the Germans. A couple of guys will come together here, but I don't think they can consolidate within the same space as the Brits. I'll have to double check all that in the rules. Rules, made to be broken. There's other thing was, and it's nothing. I've been scanning the rule book trying to find this one out here. I hear Newman wouldn't mind crossing over here, but it's been destroyed by the Waltons lot. Drunken Walton has just fallen over. Now, it's a swing bridge. Is it destroyed or out of action? There's nothing in the rule book that I can find to say that you cannot cross over a broken point. But if it is destroyed entirely, then you definitely couldn't go through it. So what I'm going to do is I'll take Newman this way round, and he'll be able to get halfway across. Anyone that's doing the damage on this side could be the opposite side of this one same token before they cross. So I'm happy enough that you can destroy it from either side, but once it's destroyed, it's been taken out of the action. So after all that waffling, I think that is the end of turn number 5. Turn number 6, we have to try to start repairing these lights here. And I will see you sometime in turn number 6 when I've had a cup of coffee and a little lie down. Okay, we are on to turn number 6 now. Before we get going, let me just make some clarifications that I was a bit confused with myself last time about these crossing points here. That I said if they were destroyed or partially damaged, can you still cross, etc. I managed to find it in the rules after searching for ages beforehand, but it's actually there on page 10, 12.5, over water areas. Basically, if you've destroyed it, you can't go over that crossing point, but anything that's there can exit the opposite sides. It was kind of how I was thinking it should be anyway, and I didn't think it was written down, but it is. 12.5 in the rules. If you didn't have rules, where would you be? France. So, U-boat pens. That is on page 10 again, and the rules are 14.1 and 14.2. I won't go through these now, but basically, when we get adjacent to these hexagonal areas, then it will spawn German units there, a couple of them each time. And these points can be hit multiple times by the Brits, provided they got enough ammunition to do the job. But that is for when we get there. I mean, we'll get there when we get to this guy here on this turn as well, because I think we're going to do a sneak-in grenade attack, as we mentioned beforehand. The other thing I was going to say was the Brits are up to 34 victory points out of the 70 they're trying to get hold of. And, well, why are they so high up? Because I don't think the Brits have been so successful in my previous games before. And I think, as you've seen me do the dice rolls here, so many of these explosives that have gone off have resulted in destroy rather than damage. I don't think I've had a single damaged token go on the board, only destroyed. That is an oddness that this game is throwing up for us. So let me get on with this searchlight repair phase. Though these searchlights are now knocked out because the power station has been knocked out by one of our destroyed markers, we do get a chance to repair them. If they were on a disrupt, it would or an out of action, that would also change the rules a little bit about how they're done. But they're just on a power supply failure, and they have local generators where you're trying to get themselves back together again. So we start off with 4-1-2 here. It's a 2 to 7 roll. We'll be successfully repairing the generator. And 7, that one is repaired. So that will get flipped back over to its operating side, 4-1-2. We'll do 3-4-2. That one gets repaired. Oh dear, things are lighting up for everybody. And 4-3-2, this is an important one because the Brits are going to be running around in here in a minute. That gets repaired. That's going to add some negatives to the Brits. And the one down here at 1-4-2. That one doesn't get repaired. So it's only 1-4-2 that remain on this track. I should put it there for the next turn. And I will sort out all the illumination rolls off camera and start thinking about the harbour defence, the covering fire and the dockyard defence. I may bring you some of those rolls in a second. Okay, following on a little bit from the searchlight repair phase, we did the gun repairs as well. This one didn't get repaired. This one got flipped from an out of action to a disrupt, as did the one up here, out of action to disrupt. So they're now, all three of these disrupted guns are closer, one step closer to being repaired by the Germans and more usable. When we came to the illumination zone part of it, this light here shone itself into zone Z, where there are no boats, effectively ineffectual. This light shone itself into zone B, there's only one boat, and on the effects roll, it had to roll a 1, which it managed to succeed doing. So this light is operational and effective against this one boat here. Thinking, why are people picking on me? But when we got up to here into this area, this one here also shone itself into this area. It had to roll a 1 to pick out the one British unit that's in here, because these guys are on this side of the lock. It rolled a 6, so this is effectively on but ineffectual down here. Effectively ineffectual. Let me get on with the harbour defence, the greater harbour defence. We get the 12 rolls as we have done before. It's a base number of 1 to 4 to hit, and there's only light can affect one boat in here. So there's a good chance this could fail pretty quickly. So let's just roll some dice and see how we get on. If it starts getting tedious, I shall cut and shut. So the first one is a hit. It will go on to boat number 54. 54, nearest one to 54. Actually, it is Tilly. She's out there in the far approach or near approach, whichever one you want to call it. And Tilly will suffer a 4 damage, which is a fire and a knockout. Let me mark that down 1 second. Okay, there's Tilly with her on fire marker. Her speed's been reduced down to 1, so I think she can move from the near approach to far approach this turn, and have another move, in fact, to get out into the open sea on the next turn. Slightly annoying, but anyway, that's the way it goes. Let's roll the second number, and we have got a 6. 24. 6 is probably going to be a miss, I think, because it's 1 to 4. I don't think there's any kind of bonuses that can bring this one up. Boat number 24, is Falconer. He's already been removed from the game. He was sunk earlier on in the play. So the nearest number is going to be Ryder, I think, here. He's 10 away from 24. Can't think there's anybody any closer. Collier's already been removed, so it's going to be Ryder. No lights are effective in here, so the second shot at 6 and 24 boat is a miss. That is the end of the harbour defence. We now get onto the covering fire. There's fewer boats that can actually hit anything in here. I'm not sure I can really count too many of those boats to kind of lump things back onto here, but we're going to do that anyway, because that's part of the rules of it. And I think we got a +3 modifier on our covering fire, and we might as well try to hit one of these guns out here. That's one of these exit guns, for want of a better expression for them. So we have to roll less than a 7, but we've got a +3 on the 2 coloured dice, not the red ones. And we have actually rolled, wow, 4, 5, 6, 7. And a number 1 will be a destroy, I think, or out of action. Anyway, I didn't mark it down first. I was looking at that one in my head without putting a thing on there, because I wasn't expecting any success. That's a first hit on that one. We'll do that gun second, up there. And that one will be a miss, because it's a 7 plus our 3 plus the +1 cumulative action. Let me put a marker down there, get back to you in a second before I forget what I'm doing. Yep, I was correct. It was destroyed, not taken out of action, so the gun is completely removed from the game. We're now going to go on to the dockside defence phase. There is just 2 guns can fire into Zone A, which is why is our 2 marker there. Any roll above a 2 will be a failure. This is one of 12 shots that each zone can make, so there can be loads of shots if there are a load of boats and loads of good rolls, but the first one is a good roll. It's 2 or less, so that's going to be a hit on the nearest boat to number 34, which is going to be poor old Wallace, who's on fire, which will give a +1 anyway. Eek. And he's rolled a 10 on the effect of it, which is multiple casualties. 1 second. Okay, so the effect of multiple casualties on Wallace was 2 crew members lost, down to 1 guy there now. It's getting perilous for him. Poor old Wallace, steering the boat one-handedly and drinking his coffee with the other. Shot at number 2 into there is going to be a miss. It's way above that 2. There's nothing it's going to, even though it's on poor Wallace again, that fire marker will not add to that or reduce that number down to anywhere effective. The other zone we got a shot into would be this zone here. Just the 1 gun. These are all out of action, effectively out of action. It's just that one here. Actually, I lie. It can get into zone. C, not B. Zone B. Just the 1 gun into there. I knew I was right first time round. It's got to roll a 1 or less, if that's possible, to hit that boat, and it misses. But there is a light. The light can make a -1 to that. That will make that 2 into a hit. So Boyd's the only boat that can be hit, even though that number says something massively higher. Boyd will suffer an 11, which is a knockout on the gun. I can mark that down really quickly, one-handedly. Where's he on my sheet? Just up there. There's no guns left. So it's taken the top of the gun off and the middle part as well. The second shot that they would get in this area will be another hit on Boyd. Oh dear, poor Boyd. And that's a 7, which is going to be an evade and multiple casualties. Let me mark that down 1 second. The multiple casualties is going to be a 3. Okay, unfortunately for poor old Boyd, he lost his last crew member in that multiple casualties. So unfortunately he goes from an evade into a dead in the water. This guy is sunk, he's lost, he's gone. The next thing we're going to be doing will be the naval movement, which will involve the open sea encounter. Each of these boats have to roll on the open sea table before we can move these lot into it and move these lot out of the harbour. So we're trying to get these boats back to good old Blighty. It is a die roll on the open sea encounter table. A 2, you're attacked by destroyers, 3 by a patrol boat, a 4 attacked by aircraft, and a 5 or greater. Nothing happens and these guys get to go home. Let's roll the first boat, which is Knock. He's rolled a 9. He will get to go home. Second boat will be Collier. He's going home safely, and Henderson is the final one to move out of the open sea back to Blighty, and a 12. There were big rolls there. They really wanted to get home quickly. So these boats have all got themselves home. These guys were all moving themselves into the open sea. Stevens will move into the approach, probably picking up Wallace first, because I see how many space he's got on board, but I think there's probably enough there. I don't fancy turning him back, even though there's no crew. Is there any survivors on Boyd's boat to pick up? There's no crew, there's no one picked up on his boat anyway, so unfortunately Boyd is left behind, sinking and dying. So this guy will pick up some guys from there, move into there. You know how it's all going to work, and I will see you when we get onto the German activation phase in a second for all the land movement and land combats. Okay, that's the board all tidied up now. I haven't bothered marking down the victory points for these guys. If they're on the way home, I think they get 0.2 over point for everyone who gets back to Blighty, and 0.1 for any guys that get into these grey areas, these reinforcement areas, on their way out of the board. On to the German activation phase. Their alarms are all ringing out there. They're klaxon horns, or as they're known in German, klaxon horns. And we should roll the activation number for them. It's double die roll. They have rolled a 7. It's still a -1 in operation this time round. So it's just 5 German units are going to get onto the board. I'll do most of that off camera. I can roll the first one. Let's see where the first one goes live. It is in 364, the first of the 5, and I will do the rest of them off camera. Okay, there were some unfortunate placements there from that German activation. There's 2 guys up here, both 4 strength units. They can conglomerate next turn or end of this turn, give themselves a strong unit, may come down this 3 movement factor space from their reinforcement area where the Brits are trying to get out into or out from. We got 1 guy spawned behind young Moss here and 1 guy in front of him, and Moss is trying to get this way, which will activate these U-boat pen defences, and a guy spawned up here, and it's all not very nice for this general area, but it is what it is. 1 guy spawned behind Woodcock. Woodcock's already placed and exploded this place. He can run this way away, and this guy cannot get past this destroyed area. I hope I remember that. We got, I think, Chant and Smalley. I think we might swap over which one's going to try and lay the explosive down here, because I think Chant is stronger than Smalley, but I have to double check all my numbers on that. And these 2 guys are going to move forward into here. One's going to set their charges onto here, and one will have a mortar shot against this long-range flak tower up there, only on this side. The other one's not a flak tower, I don't think. So the important thing to take note of, though, is when Moss moves forward 1, 2 into here, we will spawn 2 German units in each of these spaces. It's a one-off spawn. They can move between these hexagonal spaces, but they can't move out of there. So it'd be 6 guys drawn at random. Basically, that will just happen. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, there's 5 strength unit there. 5, 6. So that looks pretty nasty. A 6 and a 2 and a 6 and a 2 and a 2 and a 2, 2 and a 4 down there. Okay, so they're pretty strong in defending these U-boat pens, but we're expecting that kind of resistance. But being as if the Brits get onto here and start damaging it, they can get these 13 points for damaging it multiple times, provided they stay in there and stay alive and have enough explosives. But that is what may happen. The Brits will all move forward. As I said, they're going to try and get towards the pens and then go back up and around and exit via this reinforcement area. That will happen no matter what happens. We still need to do yet the German movement roll. I know we're doing it out of sequence, but bear with me so we can enjoy the fun together. The Brits movement have all been preordained with markers and ideas, as I've spoken about, but the German movement will be 1. Oh, that means a guy who's strength of 1 can move 1 space. Guys that are strength of 2 can move 2 spaces. Everybody else can move 3 spaces. Look out, Brits. The Germans are about to rush you, I think. Okay, things have been figured out now. We are going to be leaving Chant in here. He was there last time and he won't get that +2 on his die roll when trying to place his secondary explosives in here. And Smalley's moved himself down into here, sacrificing himself right and royally versus this strong unit. He's only got 2 strength left, I think. So it's going to be difficult for him to achieve anything apart from protecting Smalley. Smalley could yet have a shot against this unit if we feel like it in the combat phase, because it will only add +1 to his die roll, and he's a 6 strength unit still, so we're in two minds about that at this moment in time. We have had Roderick moving backwards out of the combat zone here. 1-2 factors was allowing him to do that, leaving Byrne in there to face these two guys. So they're quite weak, but obviously the rest of these Germans are going to be coming through. We wouldn't have known that at the time. One guy's run across from his broken bridge. He's sitting now here. This is Woodcock. This German guy can't come across our marked broken barriers. Some guys are moving themselves up across the bridges into the western part of the docks areas, and we have got young Moss up here adjacent to this or in the same zone as this one flak tower gun to take that out this time round. We have Wharton has run through 1, 2, 3 spaces, got himself into a square area which is nice and tight, and we've now got to think about the German activation. It's basically because of that roll of 1, anybody that's a 1 can move 1 space, 2 spaces, and then everybody else 3 spaces. It looks like everybody's going to be rushing the Brits really, really quickly. So we'll start off up here now. 2 4 strength units, they can move 3 spaces. It's 3 factors rather to get out of this 3-lined joining area, if you know what I mean. And the Germans have all been drinking their schnapps and keep falling over. We have the nearest guy here. He's got 2 movement factors, which means he can move these 2 spaces onto there, 1 plus the 1. And this guy here is a 2 strength unit. He can move 1 space to there, but can't move in versus this guy, but he can interfere with him. So obviously interfering as in throwing lumps of hot lead at him. This guy can move 3 factors, which it's a 2-factor line this way and a 1-factor line this way. Which way is going to be the nearest? I think it's going to be going towards the nearest guys are going to be Wharton and Moss here. So it'll be 2 factors to move to there. He runs out of factors if he just goes to that space. If he goes to this light space, this out of action light space, or out of effect light space, it will be 1 factor, 2 factors, and then 3 down here. It's bringing him closer to these guys, and I think effectively we should be thinking about how close we can get here. So I think really 1, 2, 3, because that does bring him adjacent and up the rear of young Wharton there. It's looking rather dangerous for these Brits now. This guy here, who was already there, he would get enough factors to be able to move into the same space. Eek. That's looking quite tight. These guys cannot move. They are the part of the Kriegsmarine, for want of a better term, or even they're just technicians in the U-boat pens. They can't do anything. That's all the movement from here. Oh, this guy here, he can move down out of the 3 movement factor lines. That's that lot there. This guy here, he's a 2 strength unit. It means he has 2 factors on the 3-line space. He can't move. This guy here is penned in with this one here. This 6 strength unit can move in and join these guys for this attack versus Byrne, but only 2 of them can make an attack here. This guy cannot move out. He's a 2 strength unit. That, I think, he says, double checking and waffling like a waffly thing who waffles. This guy didn't move, and he can't move that way, so he will have to move this way. So his factors there, 2, 3 factors, brings him across to there. That's about all I can see to do. Let me queue up the first bit of combat and get back to you in a second. Okay, we're going to be using Moss making his first attack versus this gun. He's going to be using his grenade to target that rather than the guy that stood next to him. Just lobbing a grenade up onto the top there to try and take that gun out. So 1 to 3 would be a hit. It's 8-2. It has scored a hit, and I believe with grenades, it will take out that gun. Yep. So the gun will be destroyed. 1 second. That's a bit more tidy now. It does leave Moss in here versus this one German guy, but the German's only a 2 strength unit, And Moss himself is a 6 strength unit. He hasn't had any damage just yet. So we do have more Wharton here that's behind. And I think what Wharton is going to do, he wouldn't mind turning around and trying to shoot this guy because there's a single line there. If he can get the attack in first, well, hit them before they hit you. So Wharton will roll his to hit dice. He is a commando unit rather than an assault unit, so he's going to get +1 on his die roll. The German is in a circle, not in a square, so it's just going to be +1 on his die roll. And Wharton, you think down here, if I remember rightly, is still a 6 strength unit. So it's a 6. He's failed to hit that guy with his +1. You're a 6 strength unit, man. Why did you do that for? So the other one we can do down here, I believe, is Swain. He is adjacent to this one here. Swain on our chart is still a 6 strength unit. There's a single line there he can follow down. He's rolled a 5. Again, he is a demo unit rather than a sword, so it's +1 into a 6, and the German is in a protective square. So Swain misses his shot as well. Oh dear, I think that is all the combat up in that area to do. There's no long range fire because there's these long range flak towers have now been taken out nicely with our fudumps and our kabooms with our grenades. So looking down here now, it will be Smalley, the weak Smalley, versus this 4 strength German unit. It's not a good dice roll for him. A 1 will be well chuffed with. It's a 3. Because he is in the same area, it's reduced to a 2, but he is a demo unit +3. So he has missed. And I'm tempted, I'm so tempted to use Chant here. It would take 1 off of his preparation die roll number, but we might be able to protect Smalley there. Let's roll it. We've got to protect our guys. We've rolled a 3. It is a demo unit, goes up to a 4. There's no searchlight beams in effect in that area because the actual light is out. So I think it remains at a 4. And Chant is a 6 strength unit, so we have scored a hit versus this German from this range here. Nice. And we're going to try to roll 2 damage. Well, it reduces this German down to a 2 from our remnants bin, from a 4. We've got a 2 strength unit there. Yep, that's a 2 strength unit. Putting him down there. So that's going to give Smalley a better chance of surviving when the Germans start to reply later on. So we also have this attack now here from young Bern versus these 3 Germans. Now he can pick anyone he wants. He's going to pick the strongest unit, the 6 strength unit that's up in there. He is a 6 strength unit himself, is Bern, I believe. He has rolled a 3. He is a commando, goes down to a 2. He is in the same hex, goes down to a 1. So he has effectively hit this one guy here. What kind of damage can he do? Just the 2 damage. Okay, so it reduces this German down from a 6 to a 4. Which means when the drunken German has his reply with one of those other 2 units, he's got a pretty good chance of damaging the Brits. I don't think there's any more Germans that can do, any more Brits that can adjacent to anybody. So we're going to get one long range fire. One of these guys here is going to be young Purden. Will lob a 2-inch mortar shell at that this flak tower here, this long range gun here. He can go at a 1. Would you but add the mortars have been superb today. So I believe that puts that one out of action again. Wow. I'm just scanning the board there in my excitement. I think that's all the Brits done. If there's any more Brit shots, I'll come back to in a second, but then we'll be on to the German turn for their combat replies. Yep, can't see any more British action to take place as far as their firing was concerned. And we on their mortar shot, we resolved that one with a 2 to 3 out of action. So as that gun is now out of action, we're now looking at what Germany can do in reply against these Brits. This guy, a 2 strength unit, is adjacent to this guy here. He will get his die roll. He's rolled a 4. The Brit is in a square himself, so there's going to be not enough modifiers on that die roll to hurt this Brit. Oh, why is Bernie falling over now? Probably because of me and me fumbly fingers today. Let's now have a look at this guy here. He's a 6th strength unit versus Walton. I don't hold that much hope for Walton here. 6th strength unit. He's rolled a 1, which, well, there's no modifiers that are gonna save Walton there. What damage will that unit do versus Walton? 2 damage on Walton. Let me swap hands and mark that down. Young Walton is here. So he loses a couple of guys. So over to the attack just on the southern side of the U-boat pens. We got Moss here versus this 1 2 strength unit. What can this 2 strength unit roll versus Moss? He can roll a 5. Now I don't think that's going to be a hit, because 2 strength unit, though he is in the same area, goes down to a 4. But we are in a square area which has a +1. So this guy has missed. Nice. Okay, well, nice for the Brits, that is. Let's have a look at this guy here in the 4 strength, or the 4 strength unit adjacent to it. He can't move out of there, but he can attack from there. 4 strength unit, he rolls a 5. He's in an adjacent area, but he is a square area, so that 5 will go up to a 6. So that attack won't work. And the guy behind is a 2 strength unit. He's got to roll a 1. Me and my ones, he's got to roll a 1 to be able to shoot across from here to here, and the +1 modifier for being in a square will only take that back up to a 2. So therefore this unit has scored a hit, and he will do 5 damage. Ouch! 5 damage on young Moss, which will mean he goes down to a 2, to a 1 rather. And I'm sure he's going to lose some ammo from a grenade from there. He does lose a grenade from there as well. That is not very good for Moss up there, and for the whole British cause, because he was one of the strongest units there in the first place. There's nobody else here that can do any attacks from Germany, I don't believe. Let's do the attack down here. This now reduced 2 strength unit versus Smalley. Can he do anything? I think he can miss at a 4 because he's 2 strength. We are in a circle. That is a miss. Smalley survives for 1 turn longer. We've got a 6 unit and a 5 unit versus young Burn up there. 6 unit will fire first. He will score a hit with a 3 because he's in the same area, reduced down to a 2. What damage can young Burn absorb? 3 points of damage on Burn. So he goes down to a 3 strength unit now. He will have his token flipped, and he will lose a piece of ammunition as well. Okay, I had to put the camera down. I don't know why I kept on saying it was a 6 and a 5. It's a 6 and a 1 strength unit versus Burn in here. It was just something that I think it's from a previous turn that I was remembering, something from years in the past when I was a kid. So we've got this 1 strength unit to have a go at Burn in there. Only one of those guys can go in there now, and he just rolled a 6. He's going to miss that now anyway. So all that waffling, all that wasting of time didn't really count for anything. I think that is the end of... Okay, yeah, that was the end of the German turn. I've just realised we are a bit short of time. We're running over time in this video. So I've jotted down some numbers quickly. We have Pennington up here trying to lay some charges. We have Chant down here trying to lay some charges. And we have Bradley trying to lay some charges. I've got the numbers jotted down in front of me. We'll go through them as quick as we can do and then finish this video. It's running really long. We've got Bradley here. He can lay his charges as an auto roll. It will lay at a 1, no problem at all with that. Chant down here, he can lay his charges on a 5 or lower. He lays his charges, and Pennington up there, He moved in this turn. He's got a +2 but a -1. It gets laid as well. So I've got 3 sets of charges all being laid in 1, 2s and 3s. And we will try to set them off. Anything less than a 4 is going to be good. We start off with Bradley. Bradley fails to set his off. They're unable to detonate. So as those charges get left there on that marker, they're only at risk if this guy leaves the area. So you're not going to be doing that. We have Chant is going to try and set his charges off. He's rolled a 2. That will go off. That will produce a destroyed result. And Pennington on that side of the bridge, he's rolled a 4. It will damage the bridge but not destroy it. So let me mark all those down, come back to you in a second. That's all tidied up. Now we've got the prepared charges here that didn't go off this first time around. We've got 3 victory points down here added to our total, now on 37 victory points for the Brits. And a damage marker on here. We can lay charges again next turn and try to blow this bridge up with now a -1 modifier because we've already damaged this bridge. That will be it for turn number 6. Apart from consolidating, nearly forgot, these 2 Germans up here. It's 2 4s. We're going to a 6 and a 2, making 1 stronger unit and 1 weaker unit. That's the way we do it down here. And there'll be some consolidations down here in these pens as well. I should do all that off camera. But that will be it for video number 4. I will see you in video number 5. It starts off in turn number 7, sometime in the near future. Till next time, be cool.